That's what I want. Here we go. All right, so we are going to get started, and I will start off by saying last year, 2023, my mission, my goal was to get through weight loss. And that is exactly what I did. For those of you who don't know me, and I don't know how many of you, a lot of you I recognize, a lot of you I know, and I'm sure there are some of you here who are new tonight, and that's great. Welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lizabeth Brussells. I started Optavia 5-in-1 in June of 2022. And on November 6th of 2023, I officially started maintenance. So I transitioned starting the 25th of September, and the beginning of November, I moved into maintenance. And in that time, I lost 160 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, 160. Yeah, 160 pounds. That's what I've lost, 160. I was thinking 167, but no, it was 160. I've kept it off for 2 months. That's not what I mean, I could be a big deal. But I am the admin of the 5-in-1 newbies, used to be Optavia newbies, but I had to change it. I am the admin of the transition to living from Optavia. And I am the admin owner, whatever, of Living in the Light, all Facebook groups. Living in the Light is my personal, it's not my personal Facebook page, because I actually have my own Facebook page as well. I also am a content creator on YouTube with my YouTube channel, which is also called Living in the Light. And the name Living in the Light came about because I really felt like my Optavia journey needed to be a journey that I lived out loud. Every other diet, every other weight loss program that I participated in, I just kind of did it and didn't tell anybody that I was doing it. And every single time it failed. Every single time. I would lose 10 pounds, I would lose 50 pounds, but then it would stop. And really, at the beginning of 2022, I had said, I'm done. I'm going to be fat the rest of my life. I hated the term morbidly obese, but that was me. And I had just resigned myself to that's the way it was going to be. A friend of mine introduced me to Optavia, and I heard her talk about it. She had just barely started it, so it wasn't like I was watching her amazing success. But we had gone to see him. Our husband, we're couple friends, and we had gone to see a movie, and she had brought an Optavia bar and was like, "What is that?" And she kind of told me about it. Well, a couple of days later, I called her up and I was like, "Tell me more about this program," because there was just something about that just kind of had me interested. And so she talked to me about it, and I said, "Well, let me talk to your coach." Well, her coach was not taking clients, and so she introduced me to her coach's coach. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a month. I'll get the package. We'll see how it goes. After 3 weeks, I'll evaluate and see if I want to go more than a month. Well, by the time I got to the 3rd week, I was in it. Like this is it. This is working. Even though it had only been 3 weeks, the previous weight loss program I had done before that was Weight Watchers for like the 10th time. And I literally lost weight the first week. And then I didn't lose anything after that. And that was when I had said, I'm done. I'm not going to lose anything. So by the time I was 3 weeks into Optavia and I was still losing every week, I was like, wow, okay, well, I guess I'm in this. And I am one, if you don't know, I am one who followed the Optavia 5-in-1 program to the letter. I ate my 5 fuelings every 2.5 hours. I never added anything to my fuelings except for water. I never used sugar-free syrups or Laughing Cow cheese or baking powder, egg whites, nothing. I to a single fueling. Now I know I am not normal. Most people hack their fuelings, and totally no shade on anybody who chooses to do that. I love you and I support you, and you follow your journey. You follow the program the way it is working for you. But I just can tell you what I did. And for me, I was able to lose weight every single week for, that's where the 67 comes in, 67 weeks, except for 2. And that was not because of anything that I did. That was just my body doing this weird adjustment thing. So I never plateaued. I never stalled in my weight loss. I slowed down a few times, but I just carried on. Well, 67 weeks is a long time to do anything. And in the summer, this past summer, I started to just grow weary. I had been doing the program for a really long time, and I was ready to be done, but I wasn't ready to give up. And so what I did, I had always set myself small 25-pound goals, because when you want to lose 150 pounds, that's a big number to look at. But when I would say, okay, I'm going to lose 25 pounds and I'm going to do it by X date, and I would give myself a date to hit. And I hit those dates every single time. Usually I would hit that 25 pounds before the date that I gave myself. But weight loss slows the closer you get to your goal. And in the summer, I decided that I was tired. I was tired of just being so hyper-focused on what I ate all the time. And also the fact that everybody around me in my life kind of had to suck it up and deal with it, because I had to eat every 2.5 hours. And I couldn't wait to eat dinner for somebody else, because when my time came, I was going to eat. And that's just, that is how I live my life. And that kept me a little bit from doing some of the things, because I was so strict about how I was following the program. But that was what I chose to do for me. Anyway, this summer I said, I'm going to give myself a date to be done. And if I don't hit my goal by that date, that's okay. I can always come back in 6 months or whatever, kind of take a break from the weight loss, and then possibly come back to it later if I wanted to. I also, my goal weight, just to be completely transparent, is not my BMI. I will never weigh what I am 5'3", and according to a 5'3", 58-year-old woman, I should weigh 140 pounds. I will never weigh 140 pounds. I would look awful if I weighed 140 pounds. And so I set a goal weight for myself that I knew I would be comfortable attaining, and that I knew I would be comfortable with myself, how I looked at that weight. And that was what I went for. Now, the weight that I chose is also the highest weight I will ever be ever again in my life. And so I knew when I hit that weight that I actually wanted to be about 10 to maybe 15 pounds below that weight, so that I would never hit my goal weight again, if you kind of understand what I'm saying there. I'm not sure, but I will mute it. There you go. So just somebody who was logged in with their phone and their thing was not mute. Hopefully that's good. You're welcome. All right. Anyway, so I gave myself then a date, and I said September 25th, wherever I am on September 25th. That's where I'm stopping the weight loss phase, and I'm going to go into transition. Now, I'll also tell you, I had a wonderful coach, super sweet, very supportive, still talk to her every once in a while. But I'm extremely independent, and I am a very self-motivated person. And even though I checked in with her every week and we had long conversations, I would talk to her for an hour every week. I still really did a lot of this on my own. And when it came to transition, I read the book. I read the guide. I kind of just figured this all out on my own. And I know a lot of people are really scared about the process of transition. And I am here to tell you, my mission this year, I started out by saying my mission this year is to take away the fear from all of you guys about transition, because it's not hard and it's not scary. And just like the 5-in-1 program, there is a system, there is a plan. And if you will follow the plan, then you won't gain weight. You won't gain the weight back. And here's why. When you are on 5-in-1, you are eating about 900 calories a day. If you look at the amount of calories in each of the 5 fuelings, they're right around 100 calories. There's some that are 90, there's some that are 110, but on average, you're eating 100 calories. So that's 500 calories for the fuelings. Your lean and green really should not be more than 400 calories. So really, you're eating 900 calories max when you are on the 5-in-1. If you are following the plan, if you are counting your condiments, if you are eating your healthy fats, if you are, if you're not going crazy with, the optional snacks, whatever, if you're not adding stuff in, you're going to be eating right at about 900 calories a day at the most. So anywhere from 800 to 900 calories. That's well below anybody's, the amount of calories anybody's body needs to maintain. Everybody would lose weight eating that many calories, right? That's how the program works. When you get to transition, you are gradually increasing your calories by maybe 50 a week. So that by the time you get to the end of transition, you're now at probably maybe 1,200 calories, still likely below the threshold that you have for your for the number of calories. So really, even in transition, many people, including myself, continue to lose weight because you're still eating below the number of calories that your body needs. So don't panic and think, as soon as I add something to my diet, I'm going to start gaining weight, because you really shouldn't if you are following the plan. So in element 14, one of the things that I wanted to point out on page 267, where it gives kind of like the different phases, losing weight, the 5-in-1 part, and I know this is almost counterintuitive to what I just said about it not being hard, but losing weight is the easy part. And that's because it's very clear to you what you need to eat and when you need to eat it, right? We're all eating 5 fuelings. We're eating every 2.5 hours. We're drinking our water. We're eating our lean and green with, 5 to 7 ounces of lean protein, 3 half-cup servings of vegetables, no more than 3 condiments, healthy fats if your lean calls for it. I mean, everybody, it's very spelled out for you. You even have the vegetable conversion chart with the weights of your vegetables, so that you can be sure that every time you eat lettuce as your green, you're going to have the exact same amount of lettuce every single time if you weigh it, right? So that's the easy part. Maintenance, or transition into maintenance, is for life, right? We're only on 5-in-1 for a short period of time. If you don't watch my reality checks, I didn't do one this week, mostly because I was doing this today. But one thing that I said last week in my reality check was something that just really this epiphany that I had, is that the 5-in-1 is like your vehicle. It is the vehicle that you are using to get from overweight to healthy weight, right? So you get in that vehicle and you drive, or airplane, if you like that other analogy that I use. You get in that car and you drive from your overweight self to your healthy self. But we're not meant to live in our vehicles. We're meant to, when we get to our destination, we don't want to just sit in the vehicle. We've got to get out of the vehicle and live our lives. And that's what I really want to encourage people this year and beyond, is please get out of your car and live. Stop being so scared to let go of fuelings that you can't live your healthy life. If you do the work to get to your weight loss goal, get out of the car without fear. I got out of that car and I don't eat Optavia fuelings. Now, there are a lot of people who continue on maintenance, whatever, and they continue with maintenance to have a fueling or 2 or 3 as part of their maintenance. More power to you, go for it. If that works for you and you like that convenience and it works, you should do it. For me, I said, I'm done with packaged foods and I'm ready to start doing it for myself. Marta, I followed the 6-week transition plan, and we'll talk about that, about how you follow that actually, because some of you may want to take longer than 6 weeks, and that's entirely fine. And I will talk about that. But I did it in 6 weeks because, like I said, I was done. I was ready to pack up those fuelings, and I have enough fuelings to do 6 weeks, if not 6 weeks, 2 weeks. I have 66 fuelings left, which is what, 11, 12 days, something like that, maybe a little bit more, something like that. But anyway, I have enough fuelings to do it, a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. But there are people who will continue to use them. But I really want to encourage people that it's not hard to maintain your weight loss and make healthy food choices. I've been doing it for 6 weeks. I kind of do a 2-pound up and down kind of thing.
Yeah, I would down a minute.
But most of the time, I mean, I stay like well below my goal weight. So in the book, he says on page 268, when you actually decide to stop losing weight and start transitioning is your choice. And I really want to reiterate that, because it really, the BMI chart numbers are not a one-size-fits-all, although we'd like them to be that way, but we are not all created equal. And that's why for me, my weight doesn't really matter to me. It's more about my size. If I can wear a size 10 jeans, which I can wear a size 10, and I can wear a medium to a large shirt, I am totally fine with that. I do not want to be a size 2. I do not want to be a small. I feel like I am very comfortable in my skin. I'm very confident. I can walk into any store and buy clothes off the rack. I can order clothes online and not have to worry about whether or not they're going to fit. And so I'm happy. I'm glad. And I, may not be the Optavia poster child because I'm not at the right BMI and I'm not at the right waist circumference, but for me, I'm at the right place. And that's what I really wanted to point out on this page is, he says it is your choice. And then the middle of the next paragraph, he says, or close to the beginning, he says, eventually you will reach a point where you are ready. It may be when you reach the numbers, or or it may be before then. And so don't let anybody pigeonhole you, make you feel like you have to be a certain weight in order to start transition. I want you to know that this is your journey and you have the freedom. I mean, you pay for this program. So, when you feel like you are done losing weight, maybe you still have another 20 pounds to lose. Maybe you still have another 40 pounds to lose, but you are done and you just want to transition. I say go for it. Transition, maintain your weight, and then evaluate in a couple of months and say, all right, I've been able to maintain here. Maybe I can take another 10 pounds off and we'll go back and we'll do it. And I will also tell you, if you learn those habits of health and you learn about eating 6 small meals and having those small 100-calorie, 5 100-calorie fuelings at a 400-calorie, you don't have to do it with fuelings if you don't want the expense. You can do it yourself. You won't have the vitamins and minerals, you won't have the probiotics, but you can take a vitamin supplement, you can take probiotics, I do. And there's actually in the Habits of Health book I'm going to find the page because I've used it before. Someone else is probably going to tell me what it is. It's like 260 something. Now, there's a page in here, 2 pages, that actually give you a list of things that you can eat to lose weight. Somebody else tell me where it is. I mean, I literally had my finger on it earlier today, and now I can't find it. Oh, I found it. 278, not 268. And this is actually not for people who are losing weight. This is for people who are in maintenance, right? So when you are wanting to maintain your weight, there are a lot of great options in here that are like right around 100 calories. So if you're looking for some wonderful things to eat in transition and maintenance, that's there to help you out. But you could also, without the fuelings, use those things as 100-calorie things. Just know that you probably won't lose as fast as you would lose if you were using the fueling. So that's just a little thing right there. Also, I think on page 268, back in the LifeBook, he says, and if that weight freaks you out, right, the weight that the BMI says you're supposed to be, set a target weight that you think is reasonable and then reevaluate once you have reached that target. So again, I think that I am totally in line with what he is saying right here. The BMI weight for me was not realistic. I don't even know when I weighed 100. The last time I weighed 140 pounds, I was probably in 5th or 6th grade. Like seriously, I know it was well before I was in high school, because my mom had put me on a diet when I was 12, and she always told me that she wanted me to get down to 145, and I never hit that. So I know I haven't been 140, since the time I was probably 10 or 11 years old. So 140, 145, not going to happen for a 58-year-old me. It's just not. And it wouldn't look good. It wouldn't look good on me. So where I am, happy place, you should do the same. On 269, he says, you may be at a plateau, which can happen if your basal metabolic rate is low to start with. So if you already have a very slow metabolism, your weight is going to come off slower. And if it goes below the calories you're taking in on the program as you lose weight, usually the best way to overcome a plateau for those of you who are still in weight loss is to choose only the leanest leans and only the darkest green of the greens, right? So the lowest carbohydrate greens, which are basically the leafy greens, so basically you're going to have salad and shrimp or egg whites for, do that for a few days, especially if you hit a plateau, do that for a few days, and then you can move on. So you did a 4 and 2, which is basically almost, Marta. It's almost like, that's almost like week 2 of the transition in a way. So what I wanted to do first of all, and not first of all, because now we're halfway through, is just kind of walk you through the steps of transition and kind of explain the process, and do feel free to ask questions along the way. The first thing that he says to do in here is to determine your total energy expenditure. That is the number of calories that your body basically burns in a day, so that you would be able to, whatever you take in, you're going to burn, so your weight stays stable. So there is all of the math is given to you in here, how to figure that out, how to calculate it. But I will say that I'm going to tell you what the website is, because I found a TEE calculator that also gives you 3 different macro ranges. So you can determine if you want a low carbohydrate, moderate carbohydrate, or high carbohydrate diet, and it will give you your protein, fat, and carbs to eat that number of calories with that range of carbohydrates, but those macros. So if you would go to T as in Tom, D as in David, E as in Edward, E as in Edward, calculator.net. Right? So TDEE calculator.net. All right. Hands down, the best one that I found, because you put in your male, female, age, weight, height, activity level. You don't have to do body fat percentage. I have no idea what mine is. And then you hit calculate, and then it will give you 3 different macro ranges. And I'll explain more about macros. Those really come into play more in maintenance than they do in transition or weight loss. But knowing your maximum number of calories that your body can eat in order to maintain is going to be helpful as you start adding things back into your diet. Now, my TEE tells me that I can eat 1,800 calories, and I know I can't eat that many calories. That's way too many calories for me. I have actually kind of manipulated my TEE a little bit, and my max is 1495. So I never eat, unless it's a special day, I never eat above 1,500 calories in a day. And typically I'm right around 1,300. So I do try to stay below, because again, I don't want to gain. I want to make sure I stay a little bit in a deficit, just so that I've got a little bit of wiggle room. If one day I eat a little more fat than other days, or one day I have a little more carbs, you know, like I had rice tonight, that's high in carbs. I don't normally do that. Tomorrow I won't be having a lot of carbohydrates. It's just the way I kind of manipulate. So calculate your TEE. And then the other thing is to start to track what you are eating. There are lots of food trackers out there. A lot of people like MyFitnessPal. I didn't want to pay for it, and I felt like the things that I needed, I had to pay for if I was going to use MyFitnessPal. So I use a program. I've said this many times. It's called Prosper, and it is PROSPRE, not ER. So PROSPRE.io will take you to, or you can look in your app store and find the Prosper app. And I use the free version of that, and I'm able to input 3 snacks, 3 meals, and you let it know what your range is for your calories, for your macros, and it lets you know throughout the day how you're doing as far as what you've eaten, and if you plan ahead, what you've planned. And I've been using it for over 2 months, and I use only the free version. and it's working fine for me. So I would highly recommend that you do that. And most of the Optavia fuelings are in the Prosper app. So, for fueling number 1, if you have a bar, look it up, add that as what you're eating, and it will give you the fat, the protein, the carbs, the calories, and just keep tracking all of your fuelings and your lean and greens. And that way you can be keeping track of your calories, and you're not going above, because you are gradually adding calories back in. And so that just helps you to keep an eye on what you're eating. So definitely continue to track all of those things. So as you go into transition, whenever you decide that you're ready to transition, your first week is fairly simple. You are going to continue to eat 5 fuelings. You're going to continue to eat a lean and green, so that is not changing, but you're going to add to your day a half a cup of, 1 cup of vegetables. Now, my first day, I added that whole cup to my lunchtime fueling, and I was so full for the rest of the day. I could hardly stand it. I made myself eat, because you have to eat all your fuelings. But I kind of was like, oh no, I can't do anymore. I've got to stop. So the next day I was like, instead of eating it all at noon, I'm going to divide it. And so I did a half a cup at that fueling number 3, a half a cup with fueling number 4, and then just continued on. And so I would strongly recommend that every time you add something, you divide it in half and add it to 2 different fuelings instead of trying to do it all in one. Now, the rate at which you go through transition, so the length of time that you are following this week 1 plan, is up to you. And he does say in the LifeBook, the longer you take to lose your weight, the longer you probably need to take on transition. I probably should have done transition double, slowed it down and done it halftime, or however you want to call it, and taken 2 weeks to do each week. Some people will take 3 weeks to do each week, and allow your body time to adjust to those additional calories before you move on to the next one. So you can do it, follow it, literal 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, or you can slow it down. I know that people who are diabetic will do it at a much slower pace as well. They'll take at least 2 weeks to do each week of transition. So all you're doing is adding a vegetable, and he does say add the darkest green, right? So don't go and start adding the starchy vegetables in here. So if you go in Habits of Health, on page 247 in Habits of Health, he gives the vegetable choices, and he has them ranked dark green, kind of a medium green, and then yellow, right? So the yellow are the higher starch: peas, taro, corn, red beets, carrots. So those, still stay away from those during transition. Try to use the darker green ones like zucchini, spinach, peppers, onions, mushrooms, lettuce, sprouts, artichokes. Now they're there, but they're not on our vegetable conversion chart, which is interesting. Arugula, asparagus, fennel, cucumber, cabbage, squash, Brussels sprouts. So those of you who are missing Brussels sprouts, guess what? You can add those the first week of transition, because they're right there on the low ones. Bell peppers, broccoli, chives, leeks, celery, cauliflower, and chili peppers. So he's saying, when you're first adding things back, don't shock your system by throwing the really starchy things in there. Be gentle. You have time to add those other things back. And so when you first add in that cup of vegetables, for the first week or 2 or 3, stick on that low end, and then maybe jump up to the little higher, which is eggplant, green beans, and carrots, raw carrots. And then maybe by the time you get through transition, then when you get into maintenance, you can think about adding in the peas or the corn, or whatever, something along those lines. So week 1, you're just adding a cup of vegetables. When you get to week 2, this is where you back off a fueling. So you drop a fueling. So it doesn't matter which one you drop, you're just down to 4 fuelings a day, which means you're still eating 6 times. So you've got 4 fuelings, you've got a lean and green, and then you've got one other feeding time that you need to make up for because you're not eating a fueling. So that's where you're adding in fruit. And so what I did was my very first fueling of the day then was a cup of fruit. And I did a cup of strawberries or a cup of blueberries or a cup of cantaloupe. The fruit choices are on page 248. The lowest glycemic fruits are olives. Who's going to eat that for breakfast? Avocado, lime, lemon, raspberries and blackberries, and grapefruit, cherries, and tomatoes. So if you can use the lowest for the first week or so, that's really good. And then gradually work up to the apples, nectarines, peaches, pears, strawberries, oranges, apricots, plums, and figs. And save the high GI foods like apricots, bananas, blueberries, cantaloupe, kiwi, grapes, mango, melon, pineapple, and watermelon for once you get into transition. The lower you can stay on that GI level, the better it is for that glycemic index, the better it is for your body, apparently. So that's just kind of what he recommends, is that you kind of do it slow. So 2 medium-sized pieces of fruit, or a cup of cubed fruit or berries. So when I got to week 2, that's what I replaced my fueling that I dropped. I just replaced it with a cup of fruit as my first fueling, and then continued with that half cup of that other cup of vegetables was still, I added to like fuelings 3 and 4. And again, you're going to do that for a week or 2 or 3, however long you feel like you want to stay there. And then it's time for week number 3. You're still going to have 4 fuelings. You're still going to have a lean and green. And then you're going to add in a cup of low fat or fat-free dairy. So what I did is, at that point, I was like, okay, I'm adding this, right? So this is on top of everything that I'm eating. I took and did a half of a cup of yogurt and a half a cup of fruit as my first fueling. So that's the one that I replaced. And then I added a half a cup of fruit to like my fueling. I would eat oatmeal as my second fueling. So I added a half a cup of fruit to my oatmeal. So that took care of my fruit. Then I did vegetable and vegetable with 3 and 4. And then my lean and green, and then 5. Sometimes I would do like the brownie, or I always did like the brownie or the chocolate chip cookie or whatever as my last fueling. And then I would do a half a cup of yogurt as well then. Or sometimes I would do the half cup of yogurt with my 4th fueling in the afternoon. I just kind of played around with it a little bit. Or I had it with dinner. There's no specific time that you have to eat things. If you're a milk drinker, you could drink milk as your dairy. Or I also did cottage cheese, even though he doesn't say cottage cheese, it's a dairy. It's a dairy product, and so I just counted it as a dairy product and did a half a cup of cottage cheese sometimes. I don't think that it really matters. I mean, I still lost weight while I was transitioning and ate cottage cheese, so I think it's okay. If you are not a dairy person, to begin with, then you almost skip this week. Like, just do an extra week of week 2. You don't have to add dairy. Nobody's telling you that you have to, but if that is part of your diet, if that is something that you plan to be part of your diet, this is when you would add it in. Does somebody have a question? I'm sorry. No. Okay. And then we move on to week 4.
I actually have a question.
Sure, ask away.
The thing that's confusing me about going into transition, and I think my fear comes from this, is I've been eating every 2.5 to 3 hours. So now when you're talking about week 1, you still have the 5 and 1.
Mhm.
But then week 2, you're talking about 4 fuelings and 1 lean and green. When we're going into transition, do we stop worrying about eating every 2.5 hours?
I eat every 2.5 hours, and I will do that for the rest of my life.
Okay,
I'm-
so if you're cutting things out so that you're only having 4 fuelings and a lean and green, how am I going to get all of this food? Because I think it's a lot of food. Like,
So
when am I eating this?
this is what I did. So normal 5 and 1, right?
Mhm.
So week 2, I deducted a fueling. So I'm down to 4 fuelings and 1 lean and green, but I added the cup of fruit. I replaced the fueling that I took away with a cup of fruit. So I'm still eating 6 times. It's just
Okay.
4 of them are fuelings. One of them is something else that I do myself. And for this week 2, it was a cup of fruit. And then when I got to week 3, it was actually a half a cup of fruit and a half a cup of dairy. And I added that other dairy and that other half a cup of fruit into my other fuelings. So you are increasing the amount of food that you eat.
Mhm.
And so you've got to add it. At some point, you're going to add things to these fuelings. And then when you drop the next fueling, you'll have other stuff to add to replace that.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. So week 4, I'm down to now 3 fuelings and still 1 lean and green. So that lean and green is never going to go away. And now I'm down to 3 fuelings, and I need to replace these 2, right? So I've got the dairy. I keep this finger down. I got the dairy and the fruit that I'm doing for fueling number 1, and I need to replace this next one that I took out. Well, this week I'm actually adding 4 to 6 ounces. Is it 4 to 6? Yeah, 4 to 6 ounces of lean protein, which is almost the same amount of protein that you eat when you have a lean and green. And there's no restriction here as to 5 ounces if it's a lean, it's 6 ounces if it's a leaner. No, it's just you pick however much you want. Just keep an eye on your calories. And this is why it's important. If you're going to do, if you're going to do a hamburger patty, you might want to stick to the 4 ounce and not do 6 ounces, because it's going to be higher in calories than if you did turkey breast, right? So just kind of like that's why keeping track is important. But not only am I adding 4 to 6 ounces of protein, but I'm also adding a serving of whole grains. That could be oats. That could be a slice of whole wheat toast. That could be a half a cup of rice. If you, in your Optavia guide, and if you have the most current guide, and if you don't, you can get a PDF or order a new one. It actually has, let me grab my book. Should I have this over here? So on page 53, I'm trying to see when this guide was published in. It says 2022 on the back of it. The covers all look the same, but this one has the healthy exchange list in it. And on page 53 of the healthy exchange, there are some ideas of starches that you could add and the amounts. So like a 1/4 cup of granola, 2 rice cakes, 6 crackers, 3 cups of popcorn, 3/4 of an ounce of pretzels, like beans and lentils and winter squash and hominy and matzah and all kinds of stuff is on here. So you're adding a serving of whole grains to your day. Now, again, if you're not a grain eater and you don't plan to add grains, don't worry about adding the grains. Just add the protein. I'm not a huge grain eater, only because carbohydrates terrify me, because that's why I gain my weight, right? Deborah, that's a really good question, and it totally depends on your when you're in transition, you don't have to track the macros. That's what you would do in maintenance, and it would totally be up to you. And that's why I said that calculator that I gave, there are 3 different options for low, medium, medium, and high carb. And it's, if you're like really active, if you are a runner, if you are a biker, if you do a lot of activity, if you lift weights, you probably could do really well with a higher carb macros. I'm not extremely active. I work from home. I wouldn't say I'm sedentary, but I am more low activity, working on being more active, but I'm not right now. And so I stick in the low to moderate carb range for my macros. And I did say, Bobby, I did say dark leafy greens. They're the ones that are the darkest green on the chart on page 247 in the Habits of Health book. So that's a really good question, Bobby. And I called nutrition support and asked them that question because I thought, well, if I'm having shrimp, do I need to have 2 healthy fats? And I was told, no, you don't need to add any fats to if you're having something that is the leanest. Now, I will tell you that for me, most of the time, I had tuna as my, I would either do tuna or chicken breast as my lean when I got to weeks 4, 5, and 6. And when I did tuna, I used a tablespoon of light mayonnaise, and that's technically a healthy fat, but I was in transition and I was watching. I weigh every day, to be completely honest. I mean, I've told people that before. I actually weigh twice a day. I weigh in the morning and I weigh at night, and I have a reason for doing that. If you want to discuss it, we can. I keep a very close eye on how much I weigh, and that way I always know, okay, what I ate today really did affect what I ate yesterday really did affect my weight. I need to evaluate, and maybe I had too much fat and I need to back off on that. But I managed the way I did the program with transition. I continue to lose. Of course you can. Absolutely. But it shouldn't. If you are watching, if you do the calculator and you track your food every day, and you keep your calories, what you eat, just below your maximum that your body needs, then you shouldn't gain weight. And yeah, you should. But if you do gain weight, of course you can go back to the 5 and 1, and you've learned the process. So one thing that I tell people all the time is, I'm not afraid if I gain 2 pounds. I'm not afraid of that, because I know how to take it off. I know what actually works. And it so helps me to just relax and say, I can do this and I can maintain my weight loss, because I know how I took the weight off. And if it comes back, if it starts to come back, that's why I have that threshold of, I will never weigh more than that. If I even get close to that, I'm back to 5 and 1. And I really don't want to do that. Yeah, good, Marta. And you probably want to definitely take at least 2 weeks for each of the weeks of transition. That will probably be really helpful for you. I did want to point out in the how important the Habits of Health book is. If you're looking like pages 240, starting on 247, 248, gives you fruit and vegetable choices. There's great choices. It talks about meat. We talked about these a couple of weeks ago. It's just really important that you stay in these books and you continue to read these sections on maintenance and transition, especially when you get to section 2.8 talks a lot about the food that you can have and what you're adding back. So you never have to be afraid if you're willing to do the reading and you're willing to ask questions, because I promise you guys, I am here to answer questions. I am not going anywhere. I am, you will notice my YouTube channel is morphing a little bit. All of my 5-in-1 stuff is there and it will never go away. My lean and green recipes are always going to be there. My fueling transformations are always going to be there. I will continue to do reality checks, but I am going to focus more on healthy living. And so last week, I can't remember what recipe I made something last week. And I posted the recipe and I said, if you're doing 5-in-1, this is the recipe. If you're doing maintenance, you can do this. I don't know if anybody saw that. It took me forever to figure that out.
What is removed. WaxRx has everything you need, including earwax softening drops.
Leanne, oh, there we go. Okay, I got it. I was trying to mute her phone. It took me forever to figure that out, and I'm just not, I don't have time to do that for you guys. So because people really want me to do a cookbook, and so I can't spend time revising all these recipes. So a lot of the things that I will be posting on my YouTube channel are going to be generally healthy recipes, but they're not going to be 5-in-1 or necessarily lean and green recipes. They may use things like rice or, stuff that you might not be able to have at 5-in-1, but all of my 5-in-1, over 61 lean and green recipe, over 60 lean and green recipes. I think there's like 66 lean and green recipes on my YouTube channel. So there's plenty of recipes there. If you go back to 5-in-1, do you follow through and do transition again? I would imagine. If you go back to 5-in-1, then you want to gradually again add those things in again. And then again, in maintenance, just make sure you are tracking those calories and macros every single day. That should be a habit that you do every single day to track, and keep a tight finger on where you are as far as weight goes. Lots of hair thinning and loss for you, taking biotin. Do hair issues resolve? So Donna, any rapid weight loss program is going to cause hair loss. I will tell you, I didn't lose any hair, but my nails, horrendous. Like I have always had I've had great skin. I'm very blessed with great skin, great nails, and Optavia, or not Optavia, it wasn't Optavia's fault. It was weight loss. Just destroyed my nails. They're terrible. And I have to have my nails actually done and keep polish on them. Otherwise they split. So I'm hoping in a couple of weeks when I get this off that my nails look a little healthier now that I've been on maintenance for several weeks. Because once you do start adding calories back in, your body does respond more positively, and your hair will most of the time grow back, and nails will get better, skin will get better. I hate to break it to all of my friends who are 50 and up, but saggy skin comes with the territory, whether you're losing weight or you are not losing weight, but that's gravity and that's life, and our faces are going to sag and our boobs are going to hang down, and our bat wings, like literally, this is the one thing I'm getting done. I really am getting this done. So mark my word, this spring, this summer, I'm getting my arms done. I don't care if my boobs are hitting my knees. I don't care if I have a belly and the front of my thighs. Ladies, if you could see the front of my thighs, do you remember the children's book, The Saggy Baggy Elephant? Like literally my thighs look like the saggy baggy elephant. It's terrible, but I don't wear shorts, so no one's going to see them, and I can live with that. But this, I can't live with. I can't live with it. I just can't. No amount of biotin or collagen or skin firming lotion is going to take care of it for us. It's surgery or live with it. And my daughter is an esthetician, and she has said, really, the only thing that's going to take care of it, unless the older you get, the less elasticity you have in your skin. And it doesn't matter whether you've lost 100 pounds or you've never lost an ounce in your life, your skin loses its elasticity. It's just the way it is. Some people say the EAAs help with that. Can't speak to that. If you use them and it helps, more power to you. Yeah, Marta, I'm right along there with you. I don't ever look at my butt, but I'm sure it's pretty saggy too. So yeah, it ain't for sissies. That's right. We're strong women. All right. Awesome. That's great. And does anybody have any questions in the last few minutes? I know I kind of rushed through some of it, but there's so much to cover with transition, and I could probably talk about it for hours, but I can't keep you for hours. So, but questions, anybody? You can unmute yourself or.
Yes,
Go ahead, Bobby.
so I was just trying to type it, but I'm like, oh, I gotta talk because I don't have time to type it out. So you had mentioned obviously that you're the admin for the 5-in-1, and you have some YouTube channel and also some transition website. Can you put those someplace in a link? I started to write them down, but I didn't catch them all. I mean, obviously I'm on the 5-in-1.
Okay, so transition to living from Optavia.
Living.
And living in the light. There's a Facebook group, Living in the Light. That's mine. And if you message me on Facebook, I can just give you the direct links to those. But those are my two. Please make sure if you go to request membership that you answer the membership questions and you agree to the rules. Otherwise, you won't get accepted in the group. So you have to respond to those questions.
Okay.
My YouTube channel is also called Living in the Light. So Living the Light's kind of me. I think there are probably other people out there who use it, but you know, they don't have my cool logo that my son designed for me, which is a really cool, it's awesome. Like I'm thrilled.
It is.
So anyway, that's me. I actually also have an Instagram, Living in the Light Instagram account. I'm not really active on Instagram, but I am going to try to do some reels, learn how to do that. My daughter is good at that, so I'm going to get her to help me out and try to grow that, the YouTube and the Instagram kind of presence as well. So
Okay.
I really want to help people, and I really want, it doesn't matter to me whether you are my client or not. I could care less. Yes, I have clients and I love my clients and I want to help my clients, but I don't need to make money. I just want to do this to help people, and I want people to feel the same success and confidence and joy of life that I feel through this process. So I just really want to help you guys. And if you ever have questions, there's lots of you who have reached out to me personally, and just know that I'm here to answer questions for you guys. And if you want to talk on the phone, I've done that many times. I just really, really am here, and I just want to help. I just want to help. So that's it.
And you do.
Oh, my protein recipe. Yeah. I am, like I said in my video, I've made it twice and it's come out different each time. So I need to make it one more time. And the next time that I make it, and it might be a couple of weeks before I do, but it is bananas, oats, almond butter, some maple syrup, and I had a few other things that had some chocolate chips in it. But I need to get the ratios exactly right, because the first time I made it, they were really soft, and the next time I made it, they were really firm, and it just, it was weird. So I might just scrap it and figure out a different recipe altogether. So, but those maple oat cookies that I posted are really good. So
Can't wait to try those.
give those a try, and going to definitely work on some other sweet treat recipes. I've got a few other ideas floating around out there, so that's coming. Anything else?
I had
Thank
a
you,
light bulb
Lizabeth.
moment. Did you hear me?
Yeah, we'll say that again.
I had a light bulb moment a few minutes ago.
Oh, yeah?
When you were talking about weighing twice a day and you have your reasons. There's been a few times I've seen people who are on the 5-in-1 group or whichever group mention how, oh, their weight has kind of slowed this week or the past few weeks. And somebody mentions that happens to me whenever they eat a lot of cheese. And when you said that you weigh twice a day, I'm like, you know what? I eat a lot of recipes that have cheese in it. So weighing twice a day for me might help me pinpoint what recipes I've had this week and how much cheese I've had this week versus how much weight I've lost. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that was a light bulb moment for me. Just that little bit there.
I would also say, do make sure, just be careful that you are not obsessing over the number on the scale, because I know that if it's gonna discourage you, then don't weigh twice a day. But since we're kind of done, I'll tell you why. This is why I do it. I teach English, so I'm a word person and I love to read, but I have always had this thing about me that I play these number games in my head. And I will try to, if I'm driving somewhere, I want to know, like if it takes me an hour to get to my son's house, I know exactly the mile marker where I'm halfway to his house.
Yeah.
I know exactly, like when I get to X exit, how many minutes are left to get to, like I play these number games in my head. And so my goal as I was losing weight was always to get out of a tens digit and never see that tens digit again. So never see 250 again. So never see that 25. It was always going to be then when I was in the 240s. And that was when I was in the 240s, even at night, which is when you weigh the most. And so that's why I weighed morning and night, was just to make sure that even at night, oh, now I no longer weigh 250. Now I no longer weigh 240. Now I no longer weigh 230. And that was why I did that. But yes, some people can't do that. It frustrates them. It causes them to be distressed. And by all means, those are the people that should only be weighing once a week or once a month.
Very discouraging for twice a day for me, because there's been times where I feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've lost 5 pounds the last couple of days, and I get on that scale and it's the opposite. Well, not gained 5 pounds, but I might have gained 1 or 2 pounds. And so it's very discouraging for me to do that. But when the people in the group mention, I notice when I eat a lot of cheese that my weight loss kind of slows down. Well, I do a lot of meal prep, like 3 weeks ahead of time. And of course, they're casseroles, a lot of cauliflower rice and cheese. And so when I read these comments on the group, I'm like, you know what? I know I probably eat a lot of cheese, but I haven't, put 2 and 2 together in regards to what's slowing me down.
Right.
So that that was an eye opener, and I appreciated that. So weighing twice a day might help me pinpoint, well, today I had the sour cream beef bake. It's one of my favorites. There's cheese in it, so if I ever have a slow week, I could always maybe do once or twice a day instead of once a week to try to figure things out in regards to how much cheese I've had that week or how much my weight loss was. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Becky,
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I also have problems with cheese and like the sour cream bake. If you manipulate some of the cheese out and replace it with some extra meat, you can manipulate the recipe slightly, because you have to keep your amount of lean. Cheese is one of the leans, but cheese also slows me. So I replace the cheese with a little bit more of the meat, to keep that protein in there, and it helps.
That would be a very good thing, because I love the beef bake. Love it.
Yeah, it's very good.
Okay. Yeah. That's good too. That's good. But I never think about that because I love the cheese. You know what I mean? I love the cheese. So I never think about.
Well, if you start replacing some of the cheese, you will find you don't miss it. A lot of the times, unless it's a really good cheese, you don't taste it as much in a casserole. But if you eat a really good cheese on its own on the side, you'll be like, ooh, this is tasty. But once I will still get certain items that have cheese on them. I'm like, no cheese. And I've realized I don't miss it. So
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Next time I make it, I might use less cheese and put more beef in there or something and try that. So
Mhm.
thank you. Thank
very
you.
welcome. It's a great journey. I'm down by 84 pounds and I just lived through sepsis. I was in the hospital for a month. So once my doctors give me the green light to go back on program, because right now this is my Juven drink. I have to drink twice a day for healing. I'm
Those
looking
of you-
forward to jumping back in that car,
Those of
jumping
you
back
who
in that
are-
vehicle, because Lizabeth is right. And once you get in the vehicle, you're good to go.
And those of you who are on the 5-in-1 group, Kate's the one that we've been praying for the last couple of weeks. So
Oh, very good.
I wanted
Thank
to
you. Thank all of you, because without you, I wouldn't be here. Thank you.
So
Oh,
Kate is a very sweet woman, and I was very happy to see her come into the meeting tonight and to actually see her face, because I talked to her on the phone, but I don't ever get to talk to her and see her face. So love you, Kate.
very
Thank
good.
you.
I'm very happy to meet you, Kate. That's awesome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Anybody else have questions? My husband wants to go to bed, and that's my bed right there. So
Yep.
he's got a cold and he has to go to work tomorrow at the fire hall. So he's got to get up at 4:30. So
There we go. Well, another great
you.
meeting.
Good,
Excellent meeting.
good.
Thank you
We
so
will,
much.
we January the 23rd is going to be element 15. So Tuesday,
Okay.
the 23rd, element 15, 6 p.m. So you've got 2 weeks to work on element 15, and we will be back then. All right.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good night, guys.
You
Thank
too.
you. Sweet
you.
dreams to your husband.
I will. Good night.
Thank you.